Before we begin this ancient story, I want you to get comfortable. Take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. Now let it out slowly. Feel your body relax into your pillow or chair. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. This is a story from a time before time had a name. Before kings built castles. Before humans wrote down their history. This is a story about when the impossible became real. When beings from the stars walked on our earth. When love broke the rules of heaven itself. You don't need to remember every detail. Just let the words wash over you like gentle waves. Some people will drift off to sleep. That's perfectly okay. Others will stay awake through the whole journey. That's wonderful too. There's no right or wrong way to experience this. Tonight, we're going back to the very beginning. To a time when angels could still choose their own path. To the moment when that choice changed everything. To the birth of giants who were half human, half divine. And to the day when heaven itself said, "Enough." So close your eyes if you'd like, or keep them open and stare at the ceiling. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're here, right now, about to hear one of the oldest and most mysterious stories ever told. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Quiet Beginning. In the beginning, there was silence. Not the silence of an empty room, not the silence between songs. This was the silence of absolute nothing. No wind, no voices, no heartbeat. Just the vast, infinite darkness of space before space existed. And then, light. It didn't explode. It didn't crash in like thunder. It simply was. One moment, there was nothing. The next moment, there was everything. The universe opened like a flower blooming. Stars burst into being, scattering across the void like diamonds thrown onto black velvet. Galaxies swirled in colors that human eyes had never seen. Reds deeper than blood, blues brighter than sapphires, golds that seemed to glow from within. And in the middle of it all, a small blue planet began to spin. Earth. It was different from the other worlds, where other planets were dead rock or burning gas. Earth had something special. Water, lots of it. Oceans that sparkled under the new sun. Rivers that cut through stone like silver ribbons. Rain that fell in gentle sheets, nurturing the ground below. From high above, thousands upon thousands of beings watched. They weren't human. They had never been human. They were angels. Creatures made of light and thought, with no need for food or sleep or warmth. They existed to serve, to observe, to sing praises to the one who had made everything. These angels stood at the edge of heaven, looking down at the new planet. They watched as green things began to grow. Grass, trees, flowers that opened their petals to drink in sunlight. They watched as creatures appeared. Fish that swam in schools through coral reefs. Birds that soared on wings of every color. Animals that ran and hunted and played across vast plains. And then came humans. The first man and woman walked through a garden more beautiful than any painting could capture. They had no fear. They knew no pain. They spoke with innocence, laughed without holding back, and slept under stars that seemed close enough to touch. The angels watched all of this with wonder. They had seen many things in their eternal existence, but humans were different. Humans felt things. They cried when sad. They smiled when happy. They hugged each other when afraid. They dreamed. Angels didn't dream. For a long time, everything was perfect. The humans multiplied. They spread across the earth, building simple homes and raising families. They sang songs around fires. They told stories to their children. They grew old and died and returned to the dust from which they'd been made. And the angels watched, always watched. But watching is a strange thing. When you watch something long enough, you start to feel connected to it. You start to care, and caring can lead to wanting. The angels began to notice things they'd never noticed before. The way a mother held her baby, tears of joy running down her face. The way a young couple looked at each other, their eyes full of a love so powerful it seemed to light them from within. The way humans danced and sang, celebrating being alive. Angels were eternal. They would never die. They would never change. They would always be exactly what they were. But humans were temporary. They only had a few decades to exist, and yet they burned so bright. They loved so deeply. They lived so fully. Some angels began to wonder, what would it feel like to be human, to touch the earth with actual hands, to taste food, to feel the warmth of another living being? These thoughts were dangerous. Angels weren't supposed to question. They weren't supposed to want things for themselves. They existed to serve, nothing more. But questions, once born, are hard to kill. And in the ranks of heaven, there was one angel who asked more questions than all the others combined. His name was Semjaza. He stood taller than most angels, with eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies. When he spoke, others listened. He was wise, he was respected, and he was deeply, deeply curious about the world below. One night, as he stood watch over a village, he saw something that would change everything. A young woman walked out of her house. She moved to the well in the center of the village and drew water. The moonlight caught her hair, making it shine like copper. She smiled to herself, humming a simple song. There was nothing special about her. She was just an ordinary human woman, going about an ordinary task. But Semjaza couldn't look away. He watched her return to her home. He watched the lamplight go out. He watched the village fall asleep under the blanket of stars. And for the first time in his eternal existence, Semjaza felt something he'd never felt before: loneliness. He wondered what it would be like to walk beside her, to speak with her, to be seen by her. This thought terrified him, and fascinated him, and consumed him, because Semjaza knew something that would soon prove true. One small thought can start a wildfire. One question can shatter everything. He looked up at the stars, the same stars he'd known for eons, and whispered into the cosmic silence. What if we didn't just watch? That question would echo through history. It would bring down angels from their thrones. It would give birth to giants. It would fill the earth with both wonder and horror. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, Semjaza needed to find others who felt the same way he did. Others who were tired of only watching. Others who wanted to know what it meant to truly live. He didn't have to look far. because he wasn't the only angel asking dangerous questions, not by a long shot. Chapter 2. When heaven looked down. Time passed differently for angels than it did for humans. 100 human years might feel like a single afternoon to an immortal being. Seasons changed below. Generations rose and fell. Empires of mud and stone appeared and crumbled. But to the watchers above, it all flowed like one long, continuous song. Semjaza couldn't stop thinking about the woman at the well. He returned to that village night after night, watching from his invisible perch in the sky. He learned her name by listening to others call to her, Ishara. He watched her grow older, watched the girl become a woman, watched her marry a kind man with gentle hands, watched her hold her first baby and cry tears of overwhelming love. He watched until the day she died, peaceful and surrounded by family, her silver hair spread across a pillow. And even though he'd never spoken a single word to her, Semjaza felt grief, deep, aching grief that seemed to pull at something inside him that he didn't know existed. That's when he realized the truth. He had been changed by simply watching. And if watching could change him, what would touching do? What would speaking do? What would loving do? He began to notice that he wasn't alone in these feelings. Other angels had also become attached to the humans below. He could see it in the way they hovered too close to the earth, in the way they lingered over certain villages, in the way they grew silent and thoughtful when humans celebrated or mourned. One of these angels was named Azazel. He had sharp features and eyes like burning coals. Azazel wasn't content to just watch humans live. He wanted to know how they lived. He studied their tools, their weapons, their methods for shaping metal and weaving cloth. He memorized their techniques with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Another angel, Barakiel, had become fascinated with the stars and seasons. He watched how humans tracked the moon to plant crops, how they read patterns in the sky to know when rains would come. He wanted to teach them more, to show them secrets of the cosmos that they were only beginning to guess at. There was Kokabeel, who understood the patterns of time itself, and Tamiel, who knew the deep secrets of the earth and sky, and dozens more, each drawn to humanity in their own way. One evening, Semjaza gathered a group of these angels at the edge of heaven's boundary, the place where the celestial realm met the physical universe. They floated in the space between worlds, surrounded by stars and silence. "I have a question," Semjaza began, his voice steady but quiet. "Are you content?" The question hung in the air like smoke. The other angels looked at each other. No one spoke at first. Finally, Azazel answered. "Content with what? With watching, with observing, with standing at the edge of life but never living it." "I want to understand them," Barakiel added softly. "Truly understand, not just observe from a distance. How can we understand humans if we've never walked in their world? If we've never felt what they feel?" "This is dangerous talk," another angel warned. His name was Ramiel, and his face showed concern. "We were made to serve the Creator, not to question our place. If we were meant to walk among humans, we would have been made human." Semjaza nodded slowly. "You're right. This is dangerous. But answer me honestly. Haven't you felt it too? That pull, that desire to be more than just watchers? Silence again. But this silence was different. It was the silence of truth being recognized. The daughters of men are beautiful, Azazel said bluntly. I won't pretend otherwise. I've watched them dance. I've heard them sing. I've seen them love with a passion that burns like stars. And yes, I want to know what that feels like. Several angels nodded. Others looked away, ashamed but unable to deny it. If we did this, Semjaza said carefully, if we descended to walk among them, we would be breaking divine law. There would be consequences, perhaps severe ones. What consequences could be worse than existing forever without truly living? Azazel shot back. His eyes blazed. We've been given minds that can question and hearts that can long for something more. Why would we have these abilities if we were never meant to use them? This is a question worth pausing on. Think about it for yourself. If you have the ability to desire something, does that mean you should pursue it? Or are some desires meant to be left unfulfilled? What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the angels were right to question their place, or were they about to make a terrible mistake? Let me know what you believe. Ramiel spoke again, his voice heavy with worry. If we descend, we can't return. The moment we take physical form, we'll be bound to the earth. We'll be cutting ourselves off from heaven, from our home, from everything we've ever known. I know, Semjaza said. That's why I'm not commanding anyone to follow. This must be a choice, a free choice. I'm going to descend. I've made my decision. But each of you must make your own. He looked at each angel in turn. If you come with me, we need to make a pact, an oath, because once we descend, there's no going back. And if only a few of us go, we'll bear the punishment alone. But if we all go together, if we all share in this decision, then we share in whatever comes after. We stand together. The angels looked at one another. Some were excited, some were terrified, some were both. Before anyone decides, a quiet voice spoke up. It was an angel named Penamu, who rarely spoke. We should consider what we would do once we descend. Would we simply walk among humans? Would we hide what we are? Or would we reveal ourselves? And what about children? Another asked. If we take human wives, there could be children. What would they be? Half angel, half human? Has such a thing ever existed? These were good questions, important questions. But Semjaza could see in their eyes that most had already decided. The questions weren't to determine if they should go. They were to determine how to prepare for going. We'll make a pact, Semjaza declared. All of us together. We'll swear an oath that binds us to this decision. That way, no one can claim they were led astray. No one can say they were forced. We'll all be equally responsible. Slowly, one by one, angels stepped forward. First Azazel, then Barakiel, then Kokabeel, then more and more. By the time the gathering ended, 200 angels stood in a circle, hand in hand, ready to make a choice that would change the world. But they needed a place to make this oath, a sacred place, somewhere on earth that touched the sky. They chose a mountain, the highest peak in a range that humans called Hermon. It pierced the clouds like a stone finger pointing at heaven. Snow covered its summit year-round. Few humans ever climbed that high. It would be perfect. As the angels prepared to leave heaven's boundary, not one of them knew what they were truly about to unleash. They thought they were choosing freedom. They thought they were choosing love. They thought they were choosing life. They had no idea they were choosing catastrophe. But ignorance, as humans would say, has never been an excuse, and consequences don't care about intentions. The angels looked down at Mount Hermon one last time from their celestial height. Tomorrow, they would descend. Tomorrow, they would become something that had never existed before. Tomorrow, everything would change. And watching from the highest throne of heaven, the Creator observed it all in silence. The silence of a parent watching children make choices. Terrible choices. Choices that would have to run their course. Because even in heaven, even for the divine, some lessons can only be learned the hard way. Chapter 3. The Oath on Mount Hermon. The night air on Mount Hermon was thin and cold. Snow crunched under feet that had never touched ground before. The 200 angels stood in a circle on the summit, their forms now solid instead of pure light. They had already begun the transformation. Taking physical form was painful. It felt like being crushed and stretched at the same time. Suddenly having weight, having temperature, having to breathe. Air rushed into lungs that had never needed oxygen before. Hearts began to beat, pumping blood through veins that were still learning how to work. Some angels fell to their knees, overwhelmed by sensation. Everything was so much. The cold bit at skin. The wind pushed against bodies. The ground pressed up through feet. Is this what humans feel every moment of their lives? Barakiel gasped, clutching his chest. How do they stand it? They're born into it, Semjaza answered, his own voice strange and rough in his throat. They've never known anything different. We chose this. Now we must adapt. He looked around at his brothers. They were no longer the glowing, perfect beings they'd been in heaven. Now they looked almost human. Almost, but not quite. They were too tall, too beautiful. Their eyes still held hints of celestial fire. Their movements were too graceful, but they were solid, real, present. We're here, Azazel said, looking at his own hands as if seeing them for the first time. We actually did it. We left heaven. The weight of that statement settled over the group like the snow around them. They had left heaven, the only home they'd ever known, the place where they'd existed since before time began. They'd left it for what? For curiosity, for desire, for love. Some began to have second thoughts. You could see it in their faces. The doubt, the fear, the wondering if this had been a massive mistake. Semjaza saw this and knew he had to act quickly. Doubt would grow if left unchecked. It would spread like disease. Some might try to return, and if angels started leaving, the whole plan would collapse. Brothers, he called out, his voice carrying across the peak. Gather close, form a circle. They obeyed, moving together until they stood shoulder to shoulder in a ring. The moonlight made their faces glow silver. Below them, clouds drifted past like ghosts. "We are here because we made a choice," Semjaza continued. "A choice to live instead of just exist. A choice to love instead of just observe. A choice to understand instead of just watch. But choices mean nothing if we don't stand by them." He pulled out a knife, not a celestial weapon, but a simple human blade he'd taken from a village. The metal glinted in the starlight. "We're going to make an oath, a binding oath. Each of us will swear on our eternal existence that we're committed to this path, that we won't turn back, that we won't betray each other, that whatever consequences come, we face them together." "And if we break the oath?" Ramiel asked nervously. "Then may we be cursed," Semjaza said grimly. "May our names be forgotten. May our existence be erased. This oath will be written not just in our words, but in our blood, in our very beings." He held up the knife and drew it across his palm. Glowing blood, not quite human and not quite celestial, welled up and dripped onto the snow. It hissed where it landed, melting through the ice. "I, Semjaza, swear by the Creator and by my own eternal existence, I will not return to heaven. I will not abandon this path. I will stand with my brothers through whatever comes. Let this mountain bear witness. Let the stars remember. Let my blood seal the promise." He passed the knife to Azazel, who stood beside him. Azazel didn't hesitate. He cut his own palm and spoke the same oath, then passed the knife on. One by one, 200 angels cut themselves and swore. Some spoke with confidence, others with shaking voices. But all of them spoke. All of them bled. All of them bound themselves to the decision. The blood of 200 fallen angels soaked into Mount Hermon that night. The mountain itself seemed to absorb it, drinking it down like water. And some say that if you climb that mountain even today, you can still feel something strange in the air, something powerful and sad and permanent. When the last angel had sworn the oath, they stood in silence. The deed was done. There was no going back now. Even if they wanted to, the oath would hold them. They had bound themselves to the earth. "So what now?" Barakiel asked quietly. "We're here. We're committed. What do we do?" Semjaza looked down at the world spread out below them. Lights from human villages dotted the darkness like fallen stars. "Now," he said, "we descend from this mountain. We find the villages of men. We walk among them, and we see if this gamble was worth it." "They'll be afraid of us," another angel pointed out. "Look at us. We're too tall, too strange. They'll know we're not human." "Let them know," Azazel said with a grin that was almost wild. "Let them see us for what we are, children of heaven who chose to walk on earth. There's no shame in that." But Semjaza shook his head. "We should be careful. Humans fear what they don't understand. If we reveal too much too soon, they might attack us. Or worse, worship us. We're not here to be worshipped. We're here to live." "Then what do we tell them?" Ramiel asked. "We tell them we're travelers from a far land. We tell them we've come to learn their ways. We ask for their hospitality. Humans are kind to strangers. They'll take us in. This seemed like a good plan. Simple, reasonable. But there was one problem none of them had fully considered. You can't hide what you are forever. Truth has a way of coming out. And when 200 supernatural beings show up in human villages, pretending to be normal travelers, people notice things, strange things, impossible things. Still, the angels were committed now. They'd sworn an oath in blood. They'd cut themselves off from heaven. They had nothing left but the path forward. So they began their descent from Mount Hermon. The journey down the mountain took hours. Their new bodies were strong but unfamiliar. They stumbled. They slipped. They caught each other. They learned how to walk on ground that wasn't perfectly smooth, how to navigate rocks and ice, how to use muscles that were still figuring out how to work. By the time they reached the base of the mountain, dawn was breaking. Golden light spilled over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. It was beautiful, more beautiful than it had looked from heaven somehow, because now they were part of it, standing in it, breathing it in. "Look," Kokabeel whispered, pointing. In the distance, smoke rose from a village. People were waking up, starting their fires, beginning their day. The angels stood at the edge of the wilderness, looking at that village. 200 former servants of heaven, now refugees on earth. They had no home, no plan, no idea what would happen next. All they had was each other, and a burning desire to understand what it meant to be alive. Semjaza took the first step toward the village. The others followed, and with each step, they walked further from what they'd been and closer to what they would become. None of them knew that their arrival would spark an age of wonders and terrors, that their children would grow into giants, that their knowledge would corrupt as much as it enlightened, that the earth itself would cry out for justice. All they knew was that for the first time in their eternal existence, they were choosing their own path, making their own decisions, writing their own story. It felt like freedom, and freedom, as they would soon learn, always comes with a price. But that's a lesson still to come. For now, they were just 200 hopeful beings walking toward a village as the sun rose on a new day, on a new chapter, on a new world, a world that would never be the same again. Chapter 4, Descent of the Watchers. The village was called Ashar. It sat in a valley between two rivers, surrounded by fields of wheat and barley. About 300 people lived there, farmers mostly, good people who worked hard, raised families, and minded their own business. The morning Semjaza and his brothers arrived. A farmer named Ezra was drawing water from the well. He looked up and saw figures approaching from the direction of the mountain. 20 at first, then more, then more. A whole crowd of strangers walking toward the village. Ezra dropped his bucket. Water splashed across his feet, but he didn't notice. He stared at the newcomers. Even from a distance, something was clearly different about them. They were too tall, way too tall. The shortest among them stood at least 7 feet. Some were 8 feet or more. They moved with impossible grace, like dancers or warriors, each step perfectly placed. Their faces were beautiful in a way that seemed almost unreal. High cheekbones, strong jaws, eyes that caught the light strangely. "Mareth," Ezra called to his wife. "Mareth, come quickly." By the time the strangers reached the village entrance, everyone had come out to see. Farmers, women, children, elders. They stood in a silent crowd, staring at the giants who'd appeared from nowhere. Semjaza stepped forward. He tried to smile in a way that seemed friendly, harmless, human. "Greetings," he said. His voice was deep and somehow musical. "We are travelers from a distant land. We've been journeying for many days and seek food and shelter. We can work for our keep. We're strong. We can help in your fields." The village elder, a man named Rathon, with a beard gone white with age, stepped forward slowly. He looked Semjaza up and down, then looked at the crowd behind him. "That's a lot of travelers," Rathon said carefully. "Where exactly are you from? What land breeds men as tall as trees?" Semjaza had prepared for this question. "From the far north, beyond the mountains you see. Our people are known for great height. We left our homeland because..." He paused, searching for a believable lie. "Because of war. We seek a peaceful place to settle." This was partly true, at least. They had left their homeland. There had been conflict, though not the kind humans understood. Rathon studied Semjaza's face. The old man might have been simple, but he wasn't stupid. Something was off about these strangers, but they hadn't shown any aggression. They'd asked politely, and they were offering to work. "You can stay," Rathon decided, "but you'll be watched. My people will keep eyes on you. If you cause trouble, you'll leave. Understood?" "Understood," Semjaza agreed. "Thank you for your kindness." And just like that, 200 fallen angels moved into a human village. They were assigned to different families. Spread out so they wouldn't seem too overwhelming, given places to sleep, fed simple meals of bread and vegetables and meat. That first night was strange for everyone. The angels lay on beds of straw and tried to sleep, but sleep was difficult. Everything was still so new. The feeling of lying down, of being tired, of having a body that needed rest. Azazel, staying in the home of a blacksmith, couldn't stop touching things. The rough wood of the walls, the coarse fabric of blankets, the smooth metal of a cooking pot. Every texture was a revelation. Barakiel, housed with a family of astronomers who tracked the stars for planting seasons, spent the evening talking about the heavens. He had to be careful not to reveal too much, but he shared enough to leave the family amazed at his knowledge. And Semjaza, given a small room in the elder's own house, lay awake and listened to the sounds of human life. Snoring from the next room, a baby crying, a dog barking somewhere, the wind against the walls, the creak of wood settling. This was life, messy, noisy, imperfect, and somehow it was beautiful. Days passed, then weeks. The angels worked in the fields, using their strength to plow and harvest. They helped build new houses. They fixed broken tools. They proved useful. But more importantly, they began to connect with the humans around them. They learned names. They heard stories. They shared meals. They laughed at jokes they didn't quite understand, but wanted to. And they noticed the women, Oh, the women. If you've been enjoying this story so far, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. This video is going to be a long journey, and I'd love to have you along for the whole ride. Plus, we've got some really intense parts coming up that you won't want to miss. The daughters of men were nothing like female angels. Angels were beautiful but distant, pure but cold, perfect but unchanging. Human women were warm. They laughed, they cried, they got angry and then forgave. They made mistakes and grew from them. They loved with a fierce passion that seemed to burn from some source deeper than the soul itself. Semjaza found himself drawn to a woman named Naima. She was a weaver, creating cloth patterns in blues and reds. She had dark hair that fell to her waist and eyes that crinkled when she smiled. She wasn't the most beautiful woman in the village, but there was something about her, a kindness, a depth. One day, he approached her while she worked at her loom. The wooden frame clacked as she passed thread through thread, creating a pattern of waves. "That's beautiful," Semjaza said. Naima glanced up, startled. She'd heard stories about the tall strangers, but hadn't spoken directly to any of them. Up close, Semjaza was even more striking than from a distance. His eyes were the color of amber, and they seemed to glow from within. "Thank you," she managed. "It's for a wedding, my sister's." "You must love her very much." "I do." Naima smiled. "Family is everything. Don't you have family back in your homeland?" The question hit harder than she could know. Semjaza had family, 200 brothers who'd made the same choice he had. But his true family, the hosts of heaven, the realm of light and glory, that was lost to him forever. "I have brothers," he said carefully. "Those who traveled with me, they're my family now." Naima nodded, understanding in her own way. "Exile is hard. I'm sorry you had to leave your home." "Don't be," Semjaza said softly. "Some exiles are worth it." They talked while she worked, about small things, the patterns in her weaving, the harvest coming soon, the weather. But underneath the small talk was something else. A connection forming, a pull. This scene was playing out across the village. Azazel had become close with the blacksmith's daughter, a fierce woman named Talia, who could swing a hammer as well as any man. Barakiel spent his evenings with a family of shepherds, drawn to their daughter Keren, who sang songs that seemed to speak of the stars themselves. The angels were falling in love, not with the idea of humans, not with the fantasy they'd built from watching from afar, but with real, specific, individual humans who had flaws and quirks and depths. And the human women, they were falling too. How could they not? These strangers were unlike any men they'd ever known. Strong but gentle, wise but humble, beautiful but kind. 3 months after arriving, Semjaza asked Rathon for permission to marry Naima. The old elder studied him for a long moment. "You're not what you seem," Rathon said quietly. "I've known that from the start. I don't know what you really are, but I see how you look at my granddaughter, and I see how she looks at you. Love is love, whatever form it takes. I'll protect her," Semjaza promised, "with everything I am." See that you do, Rathon said, because if you hurt her, I don't care how tall you are. I'll find a way to make you pay. The wedding happened under a full moon. The whole village celebrated. There was dancing and singing and more food than anyone could eat. Semjaza stood beside Naima, holding her hand, marveling at how small and fragile it felt in his own. Within a month, 15 more angels married human women, then 30, then 50. The villages nearby also hosted these strange tall men, and marriages happened there too. Some angels stayed single, unsure about taking this final step, but most couldn't resist the pull. And then, inevitably, the women became pregnant. This was when things began to change, when the world started to realize that something was very wrong, because the children growing inside human mothers weren't human. They weren't fully angel either. They were something new. Something that had never existed before, and they were growing fast, too fast. Naima was the first to notice something strange. Only 2 weeks after her wedding, she looked 3 months pregnant. Her belly swelled at an impossible rate. She felt movement inside her, stronger than any normal baby. The village midwife examined her with growing concern. "This isn't natural," the old woman whispered. "The child is too large, too active. I've delivered hundreds of babies. This is different." Naima looked at Semjaza with fear in her eyes. "What have we created?" Semjaza had no answer. He'd never considered what children might result from their union. Angels couldn't reproduce in heaven. The concept was foreign to them. He'd assumed that if children came, they'd simply be human. He'd assumed wrong. Within 3 months, Naima gave birth. The labor was hard. She screamed and bled and pushed for hours. But finally, a cry filled the room. The midwife held up the baby, and everyone froze. The child was huge, easily twice the size of a normal newborn. His eyes were open, clear and aware, staring around the room with intelligence that no baby should have. His tiny hands gripped with strength that made the midwife gasp. "What is he?" Naima breathed, exhausted but unable to look away from her son. "He's ours," Semjaza said, trying to sound confident. "He's our child. That's all that matters." But it wasn't all that mattered, because across the valley, in dozens of villages, dozens of women were giving birth to dozens of giant babies. Babies that grew at alarming rates. Babies that seemed more than human. The Nephilim had been born. And the world would never be ready for what they would become. Chapter 5. Children of Two Worlds. The child grew, not the way human children grow, slowly over years, but rapidly, unnaturally, as if time moved differently for him. Semjaza and Naima named him Ohia. Within a week, he looked like a 1-year-old. Within a month, like a 5-year-old. His eyes held a disturbing intelligence, watching everything, learning at a pace that frightened even his parents. By 3 months old, Ohia was the size of a 12-year-old human boy. He stood nearly 6 feet tall, with his father's amber eyes and his mother's dark hair. He could speak in full sentences. He could read. He could reason and argue. Naima loved her son, but she was also terrified of him. Every morning she woke up expecting him to be even larger. Every evening she wondered if she recognized him. He was outgrowing childhood faster than she could keep up with. "Is this normal for your people?" she asked Semjaza one night, watching Ohia sleep in a bed that had already been built larger 3 times. Semjaza didn't answer right away. How could he explain that his people didn't have children? That reproduction was as foreign to angels as flying was to fish. "I don't know what's normal anymore," he admitted. "I thought he'd be human, or at least mostly human. But he's something else, something between our 2 worlds." "He's lonely," Naima observed. "Have you noticed? He doesn't play with the other children. They're afraid of him. And he's too advanced for them anyway. He needs others like himself." She was right. Ohia spent most of his time alone, sitting on hillsides and staring at the horizon. Sometimes Semjaza would sit with him, and the boy, who was no longer really a boy, would ask questions. "Father, where did you really come from?" "I told you, the far north." "No, I mean really. I'm not stupid. I see how people look at you, at all of you, the tall strangers. You're not human. I know that. I can feel it. So what are you?" Semjaza looked at his son's face, so young but so old at the same time, and made a decision. Ohia deserved the truth. "We're angels," he said quietly. "We came from heaven. We watched humanity from above for eons, and then we chose to descend, to live among you, to be part of your world instead of just observing it." Ohia absorbed this information without shock. If anything, he seemed relieved. "That explains it. That's why I'm different. Half angel, half human." He paused. "What does that make me?" "My son," Semjaza said firmly. "That's what it makes you." But Ohia shook his head. "I'm not just your son. I'm something new, something that wasn't supposed to exist. And there are others like me, aren't there? I've heard stories. Other children born too large, growing too fast." "Yes," Semjaza admitted. "Many others. I want to meet them." And so Semjaza arranged a gathering. He contacted his brothers in nearby villages. They brought their children, the ones old enough to walk and talk. About 30 Nephilim children gathered in a field between villages. It was a strange sight. Some looked like teenagers, some like young adults, but none were more than 6 months old. They'd all been born within weeks of each other, all growing at the same impossible rate. When Ohia saw the others, something changed in his face. Recognition, relief. For the first time since birth, he wasn't alone. The Nephilim children didn't play like human children. They didn't chase each other or play simple games. Instead, they talked. They debated. They discussed philosophy and morality and the nature of existence. One child, a girl named Amira, whose father was Azazel, was particularly intense. "We're stronger than humans," she observed. "Smarter too. We learn faster. We understand more. Why should we be treated as equals?" "Because might doesn't make right," Ohia countered. "Our fathers chose to descend because they wanted to understand humans, not dominate them." "Did they, though?" Amira challenged. "Or did they just want human women?" There's a difference between seeking understanding and seeking pleasure. This question hung in the air. The children looked at each other, grappling with a moral complexity that would challenge philosophers 10 times their age. "What do you think?" another child asked. "Are we abominations, mistakes, or are we the next step, evolution?" Before you move on, I want to ask you something. What do you think about the Nephilim? Were they innocent children born into a complicated situation? Or were they inherently dangerous because of what they were? Should beings of mixed nature be judged for existing, or only for what they choose to do? Leave a comment with your thoughts. I'm genuinely curious what you believe. The Nephilim continued to grow. By 1 year old, most stood between 10 and 15 feet tall. Their strength was incredible. A teenage Nephilim could lift a boulder that would take 10 human men to move. They could run faster than horses. They could see clearly in near darkness. Villages began to view them with a mixture of awe and fear. Some humans worshipped them as gods. Others wanted them driven out or killed. Most just tried to adapt to this new reality where giants walked among them. But adaptation became harder as the Nephilim's needs grew. They ate constantly. A single Nephilim could consume as much food as 5 human families. Villages struggled to feed them. Conflicts began to arise. In one village, a Nephilim named Anak demanded a larger share of the harvest. When the village elder refused, Anak simply took it. He was 15 feet tall and strong as a dozen men. Who could stop him? Word of this incident spread. Other Nephilim began to assert themselves. They weren't violent, not yet, but they were dominant. They took what they wanted because they could, because they were stronger. The fallen angels watched this with growing unease. This wasn't what they'd intended. They'd descended to experience love and life, not to create a race of superior beings who dominate humanity. Semjaza called a council of his brothers. They met on the same mountain where they'd sworn their oath, now feeling the weight of consequences. "Our children are becoming a problem," Barakiel said bluntly. "They're too powerful, and they know it." "They're just children," Ramiel protested. "They'll learn. They'll mature." "They're not children," Azazel snapped. "Look at them. They're giants. They're warriors. Some are already taking wives of their own, human wives. And those women are giving birth to even larger offspring, second-generation Nephilim. How long before they're 20 feet tall? 30? Where does it end?" "Maybe it doesn't end," a dark voice spoke. It was an angel named Samyaza, one of the more aggressive of their group. "Maybe this is what we were meant to create, a new race, superior to humans, stronger, smarter. Why should we apologize for that?" "Because it's not what we came here for," Semjaza said firmly. "We came to understand humans, not replace them." "Maybe we can't do one without doing the other," Samyaza shot back. "We're angels. Even in physical form, we're more than human. Our children reflect that. You can't create something powerful and then demand it stay weak. That's not how nature works." This was a compelling argument, and several angels nodded in agreement. But others looked troubled. "We need to teach them restraint," Barakiel insisted. "Discipline. We need to show them how to use their power wisely. Or we need to teach them to embrace their power," Samyaza countered, to take their rightful place as rulers of this world. The council dissolved without consensus. The angels returned to their villages, each trying to guide their children in their own way. But guidance only works when the ones being guided want to listen. And the Nephilim were beginning to realize that they didn't have to listen to anyone. Ohia stayed loyal to his father's teachings. He used his strength to help, not dominate. He protected human villages from wild animals. He helped build structures that would normally take months to complete. He tried to be a force for good. But he was increasingly alone in this approach. Other Nephilim saw his kindness as weakness. They mocked him for playing human when he could be a king. One day, Amira confronted him. She'd grown to nearly 18 feet tall, towering over even the largest of the Nephilim. Her eyes blazed with conviction. "You're wasting your potential," she told Ohia. "We could rule this world. We should rule it. Humans are weak. They die in decades. They can barely lift their own weight. Why should we bow to them?" "Because they're our family," Ohia replied. "Half of us is human. We can't just forget that." "Half of us is divine," Amira countered. "The stronger half, the better half. We need to stop pretending we're equal to them and accept what we are. Superior." This ideology spread among the Nephilim like wildfire. The idea that they were meant to rule, that their power gave them the right to dominate, that humans should serve them, not the other way around. And slowly, terribly, the Nephilim began to act on these beliefs. They stopped asking for food and started demanding it. They stopped seeking permission and started taking what they wanted. They stopped seeing humans as kin and started seeing them as subjects. The age of the giants had truly begun, and it would be an age of wonders and horrors in equal measure. But we're not there yet. First, there's something else you need to know. Something the angels taught humanity. Knowledge that was never meant for mortal minds. Forbidden knowledge. Dangerous knowledge. Knowledge that would accelerate humanity's development by centuries, but also plant the seeds of its destruction. That's what we'll explore next. So stay with me, because the story is about to get even more intense. Chapter 6. The Age of Giants. 10 years passed. In human terms, that's a decade. But for the Nephilim, it was multiple lifetimes of growth and change. The children who'd been born a decade ago were now fully grown. Most stood between 15 and 25 feet tall. A few, like Amira, reached nearly 30 feet. They were beings of impossible proportion, half-divine creatures who'd grown into their power and begun to reshape the world around them. Villages that had once been small collections of mud brick houses now had massive structures, towers built of stone that no human could lift, walls 20 feet high, constructed in days rather than years, palaces for the Nephilim chiefs, decorated with metals and jewels from deep in the earth where only giants could mine. The landscape itself changed. Forests were cleared in a fraction of the time it would take human workers. New roads, wide enough for giants to walk comfortably, cut through mountains. Bridges spanned rivers that humans had never crossed. Civilization accelerated under the power of the Nephilim. On the surface, this seemed like progress. like advancement, but underneath, something was rotting. The Nephilim had divided into tribes, each led by the strongest among them. Amira commanded a group in the northern territories. Anak ruled the southern plains. Ohia tried to maintain peace in the valleys where he'd been born. And a Nephilim named Og, son of the angel Azrael, controlled the eastern mountains. Og was the largest of all the Nephilim. He stood 35 feet tall, with shoulders broad as houses and hands that could crush boulders. His voice boomed like thunder, his footsteps shook the ground, and his appetite was legendary. One day, Og descended on a human village during harvest season. The villagers had worked for months to grow wheat and barley. Their winter survival depended on this harvest. Og walked into the fields and began eating, not taking some and leaving the rest, eating everything. He moved through the rows of grain like a living storm, consuming in minutes what was meant to feed hundreds of people for months. The village elder, a brave woman named Sarah, approached him. She had to crane her neck back just to see his face, high above in the clouds. "Please," she called up. "That's our food. Our children will starve if you take it all." Og looked down at her. To him, she was tiny, insignificant, a bug. "Then your children will starve," he said simply, and continued eating. Sarah ran to the nearest settlement where Ohia lived. She found him helping repair a stone wall and threw herself at his feet. "Please," she begged. "Your brother Og is destroying our harvest. We'll die without it. You have to stop him." Ohia's jaw tightened. He'd heard reports of Og's behavior before, but had hoped they were exaggerated. Apparently not. He traveled to the village, arriving by nightfall. Og sat in the center of the ruined fields, picking his teeth with a tree branch. The fields were completely stripped. Not a single stalk of wheat remained. "Og!" Ohia called out. The giant's head turned slowly. "Little Ohia, the human lover, what brings you here? You took their food, all of it. So, they'll starve." Og shrugged, a gesture that looked like mountains shifting. "Not my problem. I was hungry. I ate. That's how nature works." "That's not how civilization works," Ohia countered. "We're part of a community. We can't just take whatever we want." "Yes, we can." Og stood up, towering over even Ohia, who himself stood 18 feet. "We're stronger than them, bigger than them, better than them. The strong take from the weak. That's the oldest law in existence. Our fathers didn't descend from heaven so we could become tyrants." Og laughed, a sound like boulders crashing down a mountain. "Your father, that's the problem. You listen to him. You've let him make you soft. You could rule 1,000 villages, Ohia. Instead, you play at being their servant." It's pathetic. The two Nephilim stared at each other. For a moment, it seemed like they might fight. Two giants clashing would devastate everything around them. But Ohia backed down, not out of fear, out of wisdom. Fighting Og wouldn't restore the wheat. It would only destroy more. "One day," Ohia said quietly, "you're going to push too far, and there will be consequences." "Let them come," Og replied with a grin. "I welcome them." This scene repeated across the land in various forms. Nephilim taking what they wanted, humans suffering under their rule. The fallen angels tried to intervene, tried to teach their children restraint, but their voices carried less weight than they once had. Some Nephilim went beyond mere theft. They began to demand worship. They built temples and commanded humans to bow before them, to offer sacrifices, to sing hymns of praise. A Nephilim named Azrazel, son of Barakiel, declared himself a god. He wore robes made of gold thread and a crown of bronze. He sat on a throne of carved stone and made humans crawl before him. "I am divine," he proclaimed. "Angel blood flows through my veins. I am above the laws of men. I am the law." And the humans, terrified and overpowered, obeyed. What choice did they have? These giants could crush their homes with a single kick, could kill dozens with the sweep of their arms. Resistance seemed suicidal, but not everyone bowed. Some humans fought back. They formed underground resistance groups. They shared weapons and tactics. They tried to kill Nephilim in their sleep or poison their food. These attempts almost always failed. The Nephilim were too strong, too fast, too aware. And when they caught human rebels, the punishments were brutal. Public executions, entire families killed to make examples. Fear spread across the land like plague. Villages went silent at night, afraid to draw attention. Children were taught not to cry, lest they anger a passing giant. Women were forced to become wives of Nephilim, whether they wanted to or not. Men were enslaved to build monuments to Nephilim glory. Semjaza watched all this from his home village, and his heart broke. This wasn't what he'd wanted. This wasn't why he'd descended. He'd wanted to understand love, to experience life, to bridge the gap between heaven and earth. Instead, he'd helped create monsters. He gathered his brothers again, all 200 of them. They met in secret, in caves deep beneath Mount Hermon, where even Nephilim couldn't easily find them. "We've destroyed the world," Ramiel said, his voice hollow. "We came seeking beauty and created horror. There has to be a way to fix this," Barakiel insisted. "Our children aren't completely lost. Some, like Ohia, still have compassion. If we band together, if we all enforce discipline—" "They won't listen," Azazel interrupted. "They're too powerful, too numerous. There are thousands of Nephilim now, second generation, third generation. Some are breeding with each other, creating offspring even larger than themselves. We can't control this." "Then what do we do?" someone asked. Silence. Because none of them had an answer. They'd created a problem too big to solve. They'd birthed a race of beings who were quickly becoming unstoppable. If you're still watching, thank you for sticking with this story. It's getting dark, I know. But I promise there's purpose to all of this. Sometimes we have to see how bad things can get to understand why certain actions become necessary. Hit that like button if you're invested in where this is going, and stick around, because the next part involves secrets that changed human history forever. While the Nephilim ruled with strength, their fathers, the fallen angels, had been quietly doing something else. Something that would have even longer-lasting consequences than the giants themselves. They'd been teaching, sharing knowledge, revealing secrets that heaven had kept hidden from humanity for good reason. Azazel taught humans how to forge weapons, not simple tools, but real weapons of war. Swords, spears, shields. He showed them how to mine for iron and copper, how to smelt it, how to shape it into instruments of death. He did this thinking he was helping humanity defend themselves. Instead, he gave them tools to kill each other more efficiently. Wars broke out, not skirmishes over territory, but organized conflicts. Armies formed. Battlefields ran red with blood. Humans, armed with celestial knowledge, slaughtered each other by the thousands. Kokabeel taught the secrets of the stars. He showed humans how to read constellations for more than just planting seasons. He taught them astrology, the belief that stars controlled destiny. He taught them divination, ways to supposedly predict the future. This knowledge spread like wildfire, and soon humans were making decisions based on star signs rather than wisdom. They were sacrificing to planets. They were worshipping the cosmos. Tamil taught enchantments, the manipulation of natural forces through ritual and word, what some would call magic. He showed humans how to mix herbs for medicine, which was good, but also for poison, which was very much not good. He taught them spells that supposedly gave power over the elements, over other people's minds, over life and death itself. Barakiel taught them about seasons and weather patterns in such detail that humans began to think they could control the rain. Temples to weather gods sprang up. Priests claimed the power to start or stop storms. And Semjaza, perhaps worst of all, taught them writing. Not just simple marking of boundaries, but complex written language. This sounds innocent, beneficial even, and it was, in many ways. But writing meant that all the other forbidden knowledge could be recorded, preserved, spread. Knowledge that should have died with its teachers would now survive for generations. Within a decade, humanity had advanced centuries in technology and knowledge, but they'd also lost something crucial: innocence, wisdom, the understanding that some knowledge is too dangerous for those unready to handle it. Humans began to see themselves as equals to the gods. They built towers trying to reach heaven. They performed rituals claiming to command celestial forces. They worshipped the Nephilim. They worshipped themselves. And through it all, blood flowed. So much blood. Wars, sacrifices, murders. The earth, once green and peaceful, became stained red. High above, the heavens watched, and the patience of the divine was running out. Soon, very soon, judgment would come. But first, there would be one final attempt at intervention. One last chance for redemption. A warning delivered by the only human who'd ever walked with God. His name was Enoch, and what he saw when taken to heaven would terrify even the angels themselves. That's coming next, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Chapter 7: Forbidden Knowledge. Enoch was different from other humans. He always had been. While other people worried about harvests and marriages and the ordinary troubles of life, Enoch walked alone in the hills and talked to the sky. While others feared the Nephilim, Enoch studied them with curiosity and sadness. While others had forgotten the old stories of when the world was pure, Enoch remembered. He was 65 years old, with a long grey beard and eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. His hands were calloused from work, but his mind was sharp as iron. People in his village thought he was odd. Some thought he was holy. Others thought he was simply crazy. But Enoch wasn't crazy. He was just one of the few humans left who still tried to live rightly in a world gone wrong. He'd watched the Nephilim grow from strange giant babies into towering rulers. He'd seen the fallen angels teach forbidden secrets. He'd witnessed wars spread across the land like disease. And every night, he prayed to the Creator, asking the same question: how long? How long before this corruption is addressed? One evening, as Enoch prayed on a hilltop, the wind suddenly stopped. The birds went silent. Even his own heartbeat seemed to quiet. And then light. Pure, blazing light that didn't come from the sun or moon or stars. Light that came from everywhere and nowhere, wrapping around him like a cocoon. A voice spoke, not in words exactly, more like thought becoming sound or truth becoming speech. It was gentle and terrifying at the same time. Enoch. He fell to his knees, face pressed against the earth. "I'm here," he whispered. "I'm listening. You have been faithful in a faithless generation. You have sought truth when others chased lies. You have kept your heart pure when corruption flows like rivers. Because of this, I will show you what comes. I will take you to places no living human has seen, and I will give you a message for the watchers who fell." "The angels?" Enoch asked, still pressed to the ground. "The ones who descended?" "Yes. They have brought catastrophe to my creation. They have taught what should not be taught. They have created what should not exist. They have filled the earth with violence and wickedness, and now judgment comes. But first, they will hear their sentence. You will deliver it." Before Enoch could respond, the light intensified. He felt himself lifted, not by hands, but by the light itself. The ground fell away beneath him. The hilltop shrank. The village became a speck. The land became a map. The world became a sphere. He was rising through clouds, through the sky, through the stars themselves. And then he passed through some invisible barrier, and everything changed. Heaven. He was in heaven, the realm where angels dwelt, the place humans were never meant to see until after death. It was impossible to describe. Human language didn't have words for it. Colors that didn't exist on Earth. Sounds that were somehow also light. Structures that seemed to exist in more dimensions than 3. Everything was more real, more vivid, more intense than anything below. Angels surrounded him, thousands of them, millions maybe, beings of every size and shape and purpose. Some had wings, others were wheels covered in eyes, some were flame given form, others were living songs. They all watched him, a human, in their realm, the first living person to ever stand there. A figure approached, tall and radiant, with armor that seemed made of stars, and a sword at his side that glowed like a sun. The angel's face was stern, but not cruel, powerful, but not threatening. "I am Michael," the angel said, "commander of the heavenly hosts, defender of the throne. You have been brought here to receive knowledge and to deliver judgment. Are you prepared?" Enoch wanted to say no. He wasn't prepared. How could anyone be prepared for this? But instead, he nodded. "Then follow." Michael led him through realms of fire and ice, through halls of crystal where the histories of every moment were recorded, through libraries containing every word ever spoken, through places of judgment where souls were weighed and measured, and then to the throne room itself. Enoch couldn't look directly at it. The throne, the one who sat upon it, was too bright, too holy, too utterly beyond comprehension. He fell to his knees again, trembling. The voice that spoke wasn't angry. It was sad, infinitely sad. "Do you see, Enoch? Do you see what has become of my creation?" And suddenly, Enoch did see. Visions flooded his mind. He saw the earth from above, saw the blood staining the soil, saw humans worshipping Nephilim as gods, saw children being sacrificed on altars built to fallen angels, saw women crying over dead husbands killed in pointless wars, saw forests burned, rivers poisoned, animals hunted to extinction for sport. He saw the Nephilim breeding with each other, creating offspring even more twisted and powerful. Some fourth-generation Nephilim barely looked human anymore. They were more like demons, monsters, creatures of nightmare. And he saw the fallen angels, saw Semjaza sitting in his house, head in his hands, realizing too late what he'd done. Saw Azazel watching humans kill each other with the weapons he'd taught them to make, and laughing because laughter was easier than admitting guilt. Saw Barakiel trying to teach restraint to Nephilim who no longer listened. He saw it all, the full scope of the corruption, and it broke his heart. "They've destroyed everything," Enoch whispered. "The world you made so beautiful. They've turned it into horror." "Yes," the voice agreed. "And now it must be cleansed." "Cleansed how?" "Water, the floodgates of heaven and the fountains of the deep. I will wash away the corruption. The Nephilim will perish. The works of fallen angels will be destroyed. The earth will be renewed." "And the humans? The innocent ones?" "There is one righteous family left. One man who has not bowed to Nephilim, who has not learned forbidden arts, who has remained faithful. His name is Noah. He and his family will be saved. They will rebuild." Enoch thought of all the people he knew. Good people, not perfect, but trying their best in an impossible situation. Would they all die? Was there really no other way? But he knew better than to argue with the creator of all things. If this was the decision, then the corruption must truly be beyond saving. "What do you want me to do?" Enoch asked. "Go to the Watchers. Tell them what is coming. Tell them they will be bound in darkness until the day of final judgment. Tell them their children will destroy each other, and they will watch it happen, powerless to intervene. Tell them their names will be remembered as warnings, not legends. This is their sentence, their punishment for breaking the order of creation." A scroll appeared in Enoch's hands. It burned like ice and ice like fire, covered in writing that seemed to move and change. The full judgment, written in celestial language. "Will they repent?" Enoch asked. "If I deliver this message, will they turn back?" Michael, standing nearby, shook his head. "No, they made their choice on Mount Hermon. They bound themselves with an oath. They cannot return even if they wish to, but they deserve to know what comes. Justice demands they hear their sentence." Enoch was wrapped in light again. The throne room faded. The heavenly realms disappeared. He fell through space and time, clutching the burning scroll, until he crashed back into his body on the hilltop where he'd been praying. He was back on Earth, but he was not the same. He'd seen too much, knew too much, carried too much. The scroll in his hands was now written in normal language, but it still burned with divine authority. He read it through, and tears ran down his face. The judgment was severe, absolute, inescapable, but it was also just. He couldn't deny that. The fallen angels and their offspring had poisoned the entire world. If they weren't stopped, if the corruption was allowed to continue, humanity would destroy itself completely. Not a single righteous person would remain. So Enoch stood. His legs shook, but he stood, and he began the journey to Mount Hermon, where the watchers still occasionally gathered, where this had all begun 200 years ago with an oath sworn in blood. He would deliver the message. He would speak judgment to beings who could crush him with a thought. He would stand before giants and angels and tell them they were doomed, because someone had to, because the truth, no matter how terrible, deserves to be spoken. The walk took 3 days. By the time Enoch reached the mountain, word had spread. The old human who talked to the sky was coming. And he carried something, a scroll that glowed in the dark, a message from beyond. Fallen angels gathered. Nephilim came too, curious about what a fragile old human could possibly have to say that mattered. Semjaza stood at the front, with Azazel, Barakiel, Ramiel, and the others. Behind them, giants like Ohia and Amira and Og, hundreds of beings, all more powerful than Enoch, all waiting. Enoch climbed the mountain slowly. His old legs struggled with the steep path, but he didn't stop. He reached the summit where the oath had been sworn, where it had all begun. He looked at Semjaza, at the angel who'd started this, who'd asked one simple question: what if we didn't just watch? "I have a message," Enoch said, his voice stronger than his body. "From the throne of heaven, from the Most High, from the Creator of all things." Semjaza's face went pale. He knew. Somehow, he already knew this was the end. "Speak it," the fallen angel said quietly. Enoch unrolled the scroll, and in a voice that carried across the mountain, he read the judgment of heaven. The sentence had been delivered. The end was coming, and nothing could stop it now. Chapter 8. When Earth cried out. Enoch's voice echoed across Mount Hermon as he read the scroll. Every word hit like a hammer, clear, final, devastating. To the watchers who abandoned their station and descended to corrupt the earth, you will be bound in chains of darkness beneath the earth. You will remain there for 70 generations until the day of judgment and condemnation. You will witness the destruction of your children, powerless to prevent it. You will hear the cries of humanity that you have wronged, and you will know that your punishment is just. The fallen angels stood frozen. Some stared in disbelief, others trembled, a few wept openly. Enoch continued, "To the Nephilim, the children of corruption, you will turn on each other, father against son, brother against brother. You will destroy yourselves in violence, and your spirits will not find rest. They will become demons that wander the earth, hungry and homeless, until the end of days." The giants shifted uneasily. Og laughed, but it sounded forced. Amira's face hardened with defiance. Ohia simply closed his eyes. "And to humanity, who learned forbidden things and followed false gods, the earth will be cleansed by water, the world will be washed clean, only one family will be saved to begin again. Noah and his household, who alone remained righteous." Enoch finished reading and rolled up the scroll. Silence blanketed the mountain like snow. No one moved, no one spoke. The weight of judgment pressed down on everyone present. Then Semjaza stepped forward. His face was a mask of grief and acceptance. "When?" he asked simply. "Soon," Enoch replied. "Very soon. There is a man in the valley below building a boat, a massive boat, far from any ocean. When that boat is finished, when the animals have entered, when Noah's family is sealed inside, the rains will begin. That is your countdown. That is your warning." "Can we stop it?" Barakiel asked desperately. "Can we repent? Can we undo what we've done?" Enoch looked at him with compassion. "The question isn't whether you can repent. It's whether it would matter. You didn't just make a mistake. You broke the fundamental order of creation. You brought chaos to Eden. Some things, once shattered, can't be pieced back together." Azazel, who'd been silent until now, suddenly laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "So that's it. We sought freedom and found damnation. We wanted to understand love and created monsters. What a cosmic joke." "It's not a joke," Enoch said firmly. "It's a tragedy, one of the greatest in all of history. You were glorious beings, perfect in your creation, and you threw it away for curiosity and desire. Yes, you'll be punished, but don't pretend you didn't know there would be consequences." Og stepped forward, towering over everyone. "I didn't ask to be born. None of us did." He gestured to the other Nephilim. "We didn't choose to be what we are. And now we're condemned for existing? How is that just?" Enoch met the giant's eyes without fear. "You were born without choice, that's true. But what you did with your life was a choice. You could have used your strength to protect the weak. You chose to dominate them. You could have used your power to build. You chose to destroy. Don't hide behind circumstance when character was the real issue." This statement hung in the air. Some Nephilim looked ashamed, others angry, but none could argue the point. "What about me?" Ohia asked quietly. "I tried to live rightly. I helped humans. I didn't demand worship. Does my judgment look the same as Og's?" Enoch's expression softened. "Your heart will be weighed differently than those who embraced evil. But your existence itself is part of the corruption. That's the tragedy, Ohio. You, individually, might deserve mercy, but you're part of a larger problem that requires a complete solution. I'm sorry. I truly am. Before we continue, I want you to think about this situation. Is it fair to punish someone for what they are rather than what they've done? Can you be guilty simply by existing, even if you tried to do good? These are hard questions without easy answers. Leave a comment and let me know where you stand. I'm curious what you think about Ohio's situation specifically. The fallen angels began to disperse from the mountain, each dealing with the news in their own way. Some went to their families to spend final days with their human wives and children. Others went into hiding, hoping somehow to escape the coming judgment. A few, like Semjaza, simply sat down where they were and waited for the inevitable. But Enoch wasn't finished. He had more to do. The vision in heaven had shown him Noah, the righteous man. Enoch needed to find him, to warn him, to help him prepare. The journey took 2 weeks. Enoch followed the directions given to him in the vision, traveling through lands increasingly corrupted by Nephilim rule. He saw cities where humans bowed to giant overlords, temples where children were sacrificed, markets where human lives were bought and sold like property. He also saw acts of quiet resistance, families hiding in cellars, preserving the old stories, teachers whispering truth to their students, mothers raising their children with love and dignity despite living in hell. Humanity, at its core, hadn't been completely destroyed. Not yet. But it was close. So close. Finally, Enoch arrived at a valley where something impossible was being built. A boat. No, not a boat. An ark. Absolutely massive. 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high, made of gopher wood and covered inside and out with pitch. It sat in the middle of dry land, nowhere near any body of water. People from surrounding villages came to mock it, to laugh at the fool building a ship on a mountain. That fool was Noah, a man of 600 years, strong and weathered, with hands like tree roots and eyes full of determination. He worked alongside his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They sawed and hammered and coated, ignoring the mockery of onlookers. Enoch watched for a while, then approached. Noah saw him coming and paused his work. "You're Enoch," Noah said. It wasn't a question. "I've heard of you, the man who walks with God." "And you're Noah," Enoch replied, "the man who obeys God, even when it seems insane." Noah smiled slightly. "Building a boat on dry land does seem insane, but I heard the voice. I received the instructions, and I believe. Even when I don't understand, I believe." "You understand more than you know," Enoch said. "I've come from the very throne of heaven. I've seen what's coming. And this boat, this ark you're building, is the only thing that will save anyone." The smile faded from Noah's face. "Tell me." So Enoch told him everything. About the fallen angels and their forbidden knowledge. About the Nephilim and their corruption. About the judgment pronounced from heaven. About the flood that would cleanse the world. Noah listened without interrupting. When Enoch finished, the old man nodded slowly. "How long?" he asked. When the ark is finished, you'll have 7 days. 7 days to gather animals, 7 days to load provisions, 7 days to board with your family and seal the door, and then the rains will come. Will others be saved? If they believed, if they boarded with us? Enoch shook his head sadly. Look around, Noah. Do you see anyone else who believes? Anyone else who would board a boat on dry land because a voice from heaven commanded it? You and your family are the only ones with faith left. That's why you were chosen. Noah looked at his partially completed ark, at his sons working, at his wife bringing them water, at the vast project that would take years to finish. Then we'd better keep building, he said simply. Enoch stayed with Noah's family for a month, helping where he could. He was old, but his hands still remembered carpentry. More importantly, he taught them. He shared knowledge of the old world, the world before the Watchers fell. He told them stories of creation, of Eden, of the years when God and humanity walked together in peace. You'll need to remember these things, Enoch explained. After the flood, you'll be starting over. The old world will be gone. Every city, every monument, every piece of Nephilim civilization will be underwater. You'll need to rebuild. But more importantly, you'll need to remember why the flood was necessary, so the mistakes aren't repeated. Noah's sons listened closely. They asked questions. They memorized stories. They understood that they would be living bridges between the corrupted world and the new one. During his stay, Enoch also witnessed the first signs of divine action. Angels, not fallen ones but loyal warriors of heaven, began to appear. They didn't show themselves to most humans, but Enoch could see them, beings of light and power, taking positions around the world. One night, Michael himself appeared to Enoch. "It begins tomorrow," the archangel said. "The binding of the Watchers. Come, you should witness this." Enoch followed Michael to a deep cave system beneath Mount Hermon, the same mountain where the oath had been sworn. There, in the darkness, the 200 fallen angels had gathered, not by choice. They'd been compelled, summoned by a power they couldn't resist. They stood in lines, their faces showing various emotions: fear, anger, resignation, grief. Semjaza stood at the front, accepting his fate with quiet dignity. Michael raised his sword, and it blazed with holy fire. "By the authority of the Most High, by the power invested in the guardians of creation, I bind you to this place. Chains of darkness will hold you. The deep earth will be your prison. You will remain here, conscious and aware, until the day of final judgment. So it is spoken. So it is done." Light erupted from the sword, not white light, but dark light, if such a thing can exist. Chains materialized around the fallen angels, not physical chains, but bonds of spiritual force that wrapped around them like serpents. They struggled, some of them, but it was useless. The chains tightened. One by one, the fallen angels collapsed, not dead, but bound, imprisoned. Their bodies were pulled down into the earth itself, sinking into stone as if it were water. Their cries echoed through the caves, calls for mercy, apologies, curses, prayers. Semjaza was the last to sink. Before he disappeared into the stone, he looked at Enoch. "Tell Noah I'm sorry," he whispered. "Tell him to do better than we did." Then he was gone. The mountain sealed over them, and the fallen angels were imprisoned beneath the earth, where they would remain for thousands of years, listening to the world above, unable to touch it, unable to change it, unable to escape the consequences of their choice. Enoch stood in the silent cave and wept, not for the punishment, which was just, but for the waste of it all, for the beauty that had been corrupted, for the potential that had been destroyed, for the love that had turned to catastrophe. "Come," Michael said gently. "Your work isn't done. The Nephilim remain, and they're about to destroy themselves, just as prophesied. You should return to Noah. He'll need support in the days ahead." Enoch left the caves and returned to the valley where the ark was being built. It was nearly complete now, just a few more weeks of work. The countdown had truly begun. Above, the first dark clouds began to gather on the horizon. Unnatural clouds, the kind that promised not just rain, but judgment. The end was coming, and everyone, angel and human and Nephilim alike, would face what they'd sown. Chapter 9. The War of Heaven and Earth. With the Watchers bound beneath the earth, something shifted in the world. The Nephilim felt it, a sudden absence, a disconnect from the half of themselves that had been divine. It was like part of their soul had been ripped away. They howled in rage and confusion. They demanded answers from their mothers, but human women couldn't explain what had happened to their angel fathers. The Nephilim began to fracture. Without the moderating influence of their fathers, the worst among them rose to power. Og, Amira, Anak. Others who'd always believed in domination became the dominant voices. They gathered in what used to be a peaceful valley, but was now a city of stone and blood. Thousands of Nephilim, ranging from 15 to 40 feet tall, created a horrifying sight. The ground shook under their weight. Their voices together sounded like continuous thunder. Og stood on a platform of stone and addressed the crowd. "Our fathers are gone, taken by the same God who now threatens us. But we are not weak like humans. We are not helpless like angels. We are something new, something powerful. And we will not bow to judgment." The crowd roared approval. Giants stomped their feet, and the earth cracked under the force. "They want to wash us away like dirt. Let them try. We'll fight. We'll kill whatever comes. We'll challenge heaven itself if we must." More roaring, more stomping. The Nephilim worked themselves into a frenzy of defiance, but not all agreed. Ohio stood apart from the crowd, watching with sad eyes. He knew this was futile. You couldn't fight the creator of all things. You couldn't punch water. You couldn't intimidate judgment. He approached the platform, his voice cutting through the noise. "This is madness. You can't fight what's coming. The only wise choice is to make peace with our end." Og turned on him with a snarl. "Make peace with ending? You sound like your father. Like the weak angels who couldn't handle freedom. If you won't fight, then get out of the way." A split occurred in that moment. The Nephilim divided into two camps. Those who believed they could resist judgment through force, and those who accepted their fate. The majority followed Og, but a significant minority aligned with Ohio. This division quickly turned violent. It started with arguments, became shoving, escalated to punches, and finally exploded into all-out war. Nephilim against Nephilim, giants fighting giants. It was apocalyptic. When beings that large, that strong, fought each other, the landscape itself became a casualty. Og and his followers attacked Ohio's group without mercy. Boulders the size of houses were thrown like pebbles. Trees were ripped from the ground and used as clubs. The earth split open where giants fell, blood shining with a strange luminescence because of its half-divine nature, flowed in rivers. Human villages caught in the middle were obliterated, homes crushed under giant feet, entire populations wiped out as collateral damage. The humans who survived fled to caves, to mountains, anywhere they could hide from the war of titans. Ohio fought defensively, trying to protect the humans near him while fending off attacks from his own brothers. He managed to save a few families, directing them toward the valley where Noah was building the ark. "Go!" he shouted over the chaos. "Run to Noah! He's building a boat! Get there before the rains come!" But most humans didn't listen. They'd lived under Nephilim rule for so long, they couldn't imagine anything else. The idea of giants being destroyed seemed impossible. The idea of a flood covering the whole earth seemed insane. So they stayed in their homes, hid in their cities, hoped the violence would pass them by. They were wrong. The fighting intensified. Og's faction was larger and more brutal, but Ohio's faction fought with skill and strategy. The war raged for weeks. Mountains were leveled, forests burned, the air filled with smoke and dust so thick that the sun became a dim red circle. And through it all, in a valley increasingly isolated from the violence, Noah continued building his ark, hammering, coating, preparing. The sound of his work was rhythmic and calm, a bizarre counterpoint to the war raging elsewhere. The ark was finished on a quiet morning. Noah stood back and looked at the massive vessel. Years of work, years of faith, years of trusting in a promise that seemed impossible. "It's done," he said to his wife. She took his hand and squeezed it. "Now what?" she asked. As if in answer, the animals came. Not slowly, not naturally, but in pairs, walking from all directions as if summoned. Birds flying in formation, beasts of burden plodding steadily, predators walking peacefully beside prey, insects and reptiles and creatures from every corner of the world. Noah's family watched in awe as the animals approached the ark and began boarding. They walked up the ramp without hesitation, as if they knew exactly where to go. They sorted themselves into pens and spaces with no guidance needed. It was miraculous, impossible, and yet it was happening. The villagers nearby who'd been mocking Noah for years fell silent. Some began to reconsider. If the animals were boarding, maybe the crazy old man was right. Maybe the flood was real. A few ran to the ark, begged to be let aboard, pounded on the hull. "Please, let us in. We believe now. We believe." Noah looked at them with sorrow. "I told you for decades. I warned you. I pleaded with you. You called me insane. You threw stones at my sons. You mocked my God. And now, at the last possible moment, you want salvation. It doesn't work that way. But we believe now, they cried. Belief that comes only from fear isn't true faith, Noah replied. True faith trusts before seeing. True faith obeys when it seems foolish. You had years to choose faith. You chose mockery instead. I'm sorry, I truly am, but the time for boarding has passed. The animals took 7 days to fully enter the ark. 7 days exactly, as God had said. On the 7th day, Noah and his family climbed the ramp. His wife, his 3 sons, his 3 daughters-in-law, 8 humans total, the last righteous people on earth. They entered the ark, and the door sealed behind them, not by their hands, by divine force. It slammed shut with a finality that echoed across the valley. Outside, people screamed and beat against the wood. Please, please let us in. We're sorry. We believe. But the door was sealed, and nothing they did could open it. In the distance, the war of the Nephilim reached its climax. Og had cornered Ohia on a cliff. The larger giant stood over his brother, bloodied but victorious. You could have ruled with us, Og said. Could have been great. Instead, you chose weakness. I chose compassion, Ohia replied. That's not weakness. Then die compassionate, Og snarled, and struck the killing blow. Ohia fell, and when he hit the ground, something strange happened. His body dissolved, but his spirit rose, not up to heaven, but into the air, becoming something else, something restless and hungry and angry. This happened across the world. As Nephilim killed each other, their spirits became demons, disembodied entities that couldn't find rest. They would wander the earth forever, homeless and furious, until the very end of days. The scroll Enoch had read was proving true. The Nephilim were destroying themselves. No heavenly army needed to intervene. Their own violence was doing the work. Og stood among the corpses of hundreds of his brothers, victorious and alone. He raised his fists to the sky and roared defiance. I'm still here. Send your flood. I'll survive it. I'm too strong to die. The sky answered him, but not with words, with rain. A single drop hit his face, then another, then more, then a deluge. The floodgates of heaven opened. Water poured from the sky like rivers suspended in air. Not gentle rain, not even heavy rain, but water falling with such force it hurt. Water that came down in sheets, in walls, in an endless cascade. At the same time, the earth itself split. Fountains from the deep erupted. Underground oceans, locked beneath the crust since creation, burst forth. Water shot hundreds of feet into the air. The ground became liquid. Mountains dissolved. Valleys filled in seconds. The flood had begun, and it was more terrible than anyone had imagined. Inside the ark, Noah and his family felt the vessel shift. They heard the roar of water outside. They felt the ark begin to float, lifted by the rising flood. God have mercy on them, Noah whispered, thinking of all the people drowning outside, all the Nephilim being swept away, all the cities being destroyed. He did have mercy, Enoch's voice said. Noah turned, startled. The old prophet stood there, though he hadn't been there a moment before. He gave them years to repent, decades to change, Centuries, in some cases. They chose not to. This isn't cruelty, it's justice. Will you stay with us? Noah asked. Through the flood? Enoch shook his head with a smile. No, my journey goes elsewhere. I've been granted something no other human has been granted. I won't taste death. I'll be taken, transformed. But I wanted to see you safe first, to know that humanity has a future. Light began to surround Enoch. Not the harsh light of judgment, but warm, golden light. Build well in the new world, Noah. Don't make the mistakes of the old one. Teach your children, remember the lessons, and trust that even in judgment, God's purpose is redemption. The light intensified. Enoch's form became translucent, and then he was gone, taken from the world before the flood could touch him, assumed into eternity, one of only 2 humans who would ever be granted that honor. Noah stood alone in the ark, hearing the screams outside fade as the water rose. He closed his eyes and prayed for the souls of the dying, even the guilty, even the wicked, because mercy was still mercy, even when justice had to come. The rain continued. For 40 days and 40 nights, water fell from above and burst from below. The whole world became an ocean. Every mountain was covered. Every valley filled. Every living thing that wasn't on the ark perished. The age of the Nephilim was over. The time of the Watchers had ended. The old world was gone, washed away in cleansing waters. And in the ark, floating on that endless sea, 8 humans waited for a new beginning. Chapter 10. Waters that cleanse the world. The rain fell without stopping. For 40 days and 40 nights, water descended from the sky in torrents that would have been impossible under normal natural law. The sky itself seemed to be dissolving into liquid. Inside the ark, Noah and his family lived in dim light, filtered through small windows. The smell of animals filled every space. The sound of rain drumming on the wooden hull was constant, overwhelming, a noise that became silence through sheer repetition. They didn't know what was happening outside. They couldn't see, but they could imagine. Water rising, cities disappearing beneath the surface, Nephilim giants, for all their strength, unable to fight an ocean. Their massive bodies eventually overwhelmed, pulled under, drowned. Their spirits escaping to become the demons Enoch had warned about, destined to wander the earth forever, bodiless and full of rage. Human screams fading as families climbed to roofs, then to mountains, then to the highest peaks, only to watch the water continue rising. People who'd mocked Noah suddenly understanding with horrible clarity that he'd been right, that they should have listened, that their pride and skepticism had killed them, but understanding came too late. The water showed no mercy. It rose and rose until even the tallest mountains were covered, until every living thing that breathed air was gone, until the earth was nothing but endless ocean under endless rain. Inside the ark, Noah's family adapted to their floating prison. They fed animals, they cleaned stalls, they talked quietly among themselves. They prayed often. They tried not to think too hard about what was happening outside. Noah's wife, whose name was Naamah, held his hand one night as they lay in their small quarters. "Do you think we did the right thing," she whispered. "We could have tried to save more people, forced them aboard." Noah was quiet for a long time. "God sealed the door," he finally said. "Not me. When divine will closes something, human hands can't open it. We did what we were called to do. We obeyed. We prepared. We warned. What others did with those warnings was their choice. I still feel guilty." "So do I," Noah admitted. "I think we're supposed to. Guilt means we still care. Guilt means we haven't become hard. When the new world begins, we'll need that softness. We'll need to remember what was lost, so we don't lose it again." After 40 days, the rain stopped. The sudden silence was deafening. For weeks, all they'd heard was water. Now, nothing. Just the creaking of the ark, the sound of animals, their own breathing. But the water didn't recede. The earth was covered, completely submerged. The ark floated on a world ocean with no land in sight. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. They floated, suspended between the dead world below and the empty sky above, waiting, hoping, trusting that God hadn't saved them just to let them die slowly on an endless sea. 5 months after the rain stopped, they felt something. A gentle scraping sound beneath the ark, a slight tilt. They touched something solid, land, or at least a mountain peak. Noah opened a window and looked out. In the distance, barely visible through mist, a mountain rose from the water, just the very top. But it was there, solid, real, proof that the land still existed under all that water. "The mountains of Ararat," Noah whispered. He'd been carried hundreds of miles from where he'd built the ark, to a completely different region. But land was land. The water continued to recede, slowly, so slowly. Every day the mountain peaks rose a little higher. Every day more stone appeared. It would take months for the valleys to drain, for the earth to dry enough to support life again. Noah waited for 40 more days after the ark settled, then opened a window and released a raven. The black bird flew out, cawing, and circled the ark. It flew off toward the horizon, searching for land, but it returned. No place to roost, no place to rest, only water and more water. 7 days later, Noah released a dove. The gentle bird flew out, circled, searched, and returned, finding no place to land. Noah took the dove back into the ark and waited another week. He released the dove again. This time, it stayed gone until evening. When it returned, it carried something in its beak, an olive branch, fresh, green, growing. Noah took the branch in his trembling hands and wept. Life. The earth was producing life again. Plants were growing. The world was healing. If you've made it this far in this story, thank you. Seriously, this has been a long journey, and you've stuck with it. Do me a favor and drop a comment about what you've learned or what surprised you most. And if you know someone who'd appreciate this story, share it with them. Stories like this need to be remembered. 1 week later, Noah released the dove a third time. It didn't return. It had found a place to live. Land was ready. Then, for the first time since the flood began, Noah heard the voice that had started this whole journey, the voice that had commanded him to build an ark when the world thought he was crazy. Come out, you and your family and all the animals. Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth again. And know this, never again will I destroy all living creatures. Never again will I flood the entire earth. This is my promise, my covenant with you and with all life. Noah opened the door. He'd closed it over a year ago, watching people beg to enter. Now he opened it to a new world, an empty world, a clean world, a world waiting to be filled with life. They stepped out onto the muddy ground, and Noah fell to his knees. He kissed the earth. He wept into it. He thanked God for salvation, for mercy, for second chances. The animals poured out of the ark, running in all directions. Birds took to the sky in massive flocks. Beasts scattered across the hills. Insects buzzed off to find plants to pollinate. Life spread across the renewed earth like ink on fresh paper. Noah's first act was to build an altar. He gathered stones, still wet from the flood, and stacked them carefully. He took an animal from those that could be spared and offered it as sacrifice. Smoke rose into the clear sky, carrying his prayer of thanksgiving. And as that smoke rose, light descended, not harsh, not bright, soft and colorful. A rainbow appeared in the sky, arcing from one horizon to the other, colors more vivid than any rainbow before or since. The voice spoke again, gentler now. This is the sign of my covenant. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears, I will remember my promise. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. This is an everlasting covenant. Noah stared at the rainbow and nodded. We'll remember, he said quietly. We'll teach our children. We'll tell the story, what was lost, why it was lost, and how mercy triumphed even in judgment. The family began to rebuild. They planted gardens, they constructed homes, they raised children. Slowly, carefully, humanity started again. Noah told his sons and grandchildren the whole story, about the watchers who descended, about the Nephilim who ruled, about the knowledge that corrupted, about the violence that filled the earth, about the judgment that became necessary, about the flood that cleansed. Don't make their mistakes, Noah warned. Don't think you're above the law. Don't worship power. Don't pursue knowledge for its own sake without wisdom. Don't forget that creation has an order, and breaking that order brings chaos. His grandchildren listened. Some understood deeply, others only partially. A few, sadly, didn't listen at all, because humans, even saved humans, are still human, still capable of pride, still capable of error, still needing guidance. But the world was different now, clean, fresh, given a second chance. The Nephilim were gone. The Watchers were bound in darkness beneath the earth, unable to corrupt anymore. The forbidden knowledge was washed away, forgotten in the depths. Well, mostly forgotten. Some knowledge survived. Some secrets were remembered. Some demons still wandered, whispering to humans in the night. The battle between good and evil wasn't over. It would never be over as long as free will existed. But for now, in this moment, Standing under a rainbow with his family around him, Noah felt hope, real hope, the kind that comes after surviving the worst and still finding beauty. He thought about Enoch, taken before the flood, spared the horror of watching the world drown. He thought about Semjaza and the other watchers, bound beneath Mount Hermon, conscious but powerless, living with the consequences of their choice forever. He thought about Ohia, the good Nephilim, who tried to do right in a world gone wrong, destroyed by his own brothers. So many tragedies, so many lessons, so many warnings for future generations. Will people remember? His wife asked, standing beside him. Some will, Noah replied. Others will forget, or twist the story, or dismiss it as myth. But truth has a way of surviving, even when buried, even when denied. Truth is patient. It waits to be rediscovered. And he was right. The story did survive, passed down through generations, told around fires, whispered in temples, written on scrolls, debated by scholars. Some believed it literally, others saw it as allegory. But everyone who heard it understood the core message. Actions have consequences, choices matter, and even divine beings aren't above judgment. The Nephilim became legends, stories told to scare children and teach lessons. Giants of old, heroes of renown, mighty warriors from ancient times. The details got fuzzy, the specifics changed depending on who told the tale, but the essence remained. There was a time when beings greater than human walked the earth, and their presence ended in catastrophe. The Watchers became demons in human imagination, fallen angels bound in darkness. Some said they were in the depths of the earth, others said they were cast into hell. Still others believed they would one day escape and bring a final reckoning. The stories varied, but the warning stayed consistent. Rebellion against divine order brings ruin. And the flood became the dividing line of history. Everything was dated as before or after, the old world and the new world, the age of corruption and the age of renewal, a line drawn in water, separating what was from what would be. As the sun set on Noah's first day in the new world, he gathered his family. They sat in a circle, eating simple food, grateful for every bite, grateful for life, grateful for second chances. "Tell us again, grandfather," one of his grandchildren asked. "Tell us about the giants, about the angels, about the flood." And Noah did. He told the story from beginning to end, about curiosity that became desire, about desire that became corruption, about corruption that required cleansing, about cleansing that led to renewal. "Remember this," he said, as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. "The stars are the same stars that watched when angels first descended. The mountains, once covered by water, are still here. The earth endures, life continues, but choices still matter. Make yours wisely." The family nodded. They would remember, at least for a while, at least for a generation or two, and maybe that would be enough, because in the end, every generation has to learn the same lessons, has to make the same choices, has to decide whether to pursue wisdom or power, whether to seek understanding or dominance, whether to build up or tear down. The story of the Nephilim isn't just ancient history. It's a mirror, a warning, a reminder that even the mighty can fall, that even the divine can fail, that even the best intentions can lead to catastrophe if not tempered with wisdom, and that water, for all its power to destroy, can also cleanse, can also heal, can also prepare the ground for new growth. As Noah fell asleep that first night in the new world, he dreamed of the future, of cities that would rise, of nations that would form, of people who would thrive. He couldn't know the specifics, couldn't see the details, but he felt hope, and hope, after everything, was enough. The story ends here, but the lessons continue. The questions remain. The choices still need to be made by every person, in every generation, forever. What will you do with power if you gain it? How will you use knowledge if you learn it? Will you protect the weak or dominate them? Will you remember the warnings of history or dismiss them as myth? These aren't easy questions, but they're important ones, and your answers will shape not just your life, but the world around you. So choose wisely, learn from the past, build for the future, and never forget that even in judgment, there's mercy. Even in destruction, there's hope for renewal. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the oldest and most powerful stories ever told. If this resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel. Share this video with friends who appreciate deep storytelling, and leave a comment about what this story means to you. Until next time, sleep well, dream deep, and remember, the best stories aren't just entertainment. They're wisdom dressed up as narrative. And wisdom, unlike the Nephilim, never truly dies. Good night.